it to life. Let's talk anime, art, and cartoons tonight. Lightbox, the way to that way.
Welcome to Lightbox, the official podcast for Animate, the Western Australian Animation Association. Whether you're an aspiring animator, a seasoned professional, or simply a fan of the magical world of animation, you've come to the right place. My name is Connor Johnston, and I'm brought to you by David and Lindsay.
Hello.
Hey. Hello. Hello, Dave.
Hello, we've been sure. Tonight will be your guide on the monthly journey into the heart of animation and the industry of WA. Each month, Lightbox will bring the latest and greatest animation news, from upcoming films, shows to industry discussions that will inspire and empower the talented animators who call Western Australia their home. We also will dive into the creative processes and challenges faced by our local animators as they work tirelessly to bring their unique vision to life. So buckle up and get ready to be amazed as we explore the vibrant and ever-evolving world of Western Australian animation. This is Lightbox, and we're just getting started.
Yes. Power on through.
Well done, sir.
All right, last bit. So, one of the most importantly, we'd like to wish and acknowledge we wish to acknowledge and honor the traditional custodians of the land we're streaming on. The Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We recognize and celebrate their enduring culture, rich tapestry and of Indigenous arts, and the invaluable contributions they make to the vibrancy and cultural diversity of the city and region.
Oh my God.
All right.
Reading the script is not my forte, we discover.
All right. Well, before we dive into this week's content, or this month's content, I should say, we'd like to issue a quick advisory warning. Now, while our channel is generally suitable for most audiences, there may be occasions where we delve into topics or showcase content that might not be appropriate for younger viewers. So, younger viewers, turn up the volume and gather around. Now, we strive to create engaging and enjoyable content for everybody, but please be advised that some material may not be suitable for children. Now, there's a lot of people out there that think cartoons and animation is just for children only, although I can't imagine there's many of them left in this world, but a lot of what we cover covers everything. So parental discretion is advised, and we encourage you to review the content before sharing it with younger audiences. Our goal is to provide a safe and enjoyable viewing experience for all, and we appreciate your understanding and support in this matter. There we go. Over to you, Dave.
All right. Okay. So we're into news. So.
I'm actually doing my job.
Excellent. And I think one more. There we go.
Okay, actually,
Okay.
no, I can actually talk
Well, we've
about
got
this.
we've got the information there. So yep.
Yep. So this year we finally got around to organising our Christmas social. We do like to do one every year. So this time we're doing it at Varsity in Inaloo. This will be on the 14th December, so that's a Sunday at 3:30 p.m. till 5:30 p.m. It's an open event. Anyone can come to it. Just rock up. You may have someone come around and say hi and be like, "Hey, do you wanna just sign up?" And that way, it's like free sign up of members. Just get announced things easier. Good communication stuff. It's not. Anyway, it's free. Come over, come have drinks, have some food, have a chat, and it'll be fun. It'll be great. Yep. And then on to
right.
Okay, and let's go through. So we've had a few passings. Sorry, I haven't actually pronounced the name. Mathia Getz passed. So she's voiced SpongeBob's mum, Rose Quartz, and Steven Universe. Ember and Danny, or one of the voices of that, because there's been a few different voices. Ember and Danny Phantom, Stormy and Winx Clubs, and many more. She's passed recently. We've had Bjorn Anderson So this is a Swedish actor and musician. He actually became a symbol of beauty, Western beauty in Japan that inspired a generation of manga artists and passed away at the age of 70. He was in 1973's Death in Venice, and he visited Japan as part of a PR tour for that. His image saturated the media over there, and he became the symbol of blonde-haired beauty, Western blonde-haired beauty that you'd see in many animes. So he was initially by Rosa Versailles creators, confirmed that Bjorn was a model of iconic character Oscar Francois de Jarez. It looks also like he might have also been the model for Char Aznavour in Gundam, although that's never been stated. There's certainly some similarities there, and going forwards, you can see how that sort of impacted anime from there on. So if you've ever had the charming, suave villain or blonde-haired sophisticate, often that would be the mold that it's been drawn from. So sorry for his passing.
So I take that's him at age 70.
Yeah. He was in Midsummer as well. One of his more recent movie roles. Okay, so we've got Mitchells and the Machines 2 is in the works. Free Run Season 2 has a screening date, and that's January 16th, although I think that translates into January 17th for us in Perth and Australia, just due to time zones. The West Australian Screen Industry End of Year Celebration and Quiz Night is happening on November 22nd. We'll keep you posted on that, so keep an eye on our socials for details and chance to come along to that. Okay, Don McGrath, writer and story editor of The Simpsons, Gravity Falls, and King of the Hill, has passed away at age 61. And finally, K-pop Demon Hunter sequel deal has been passed by Netflix and Sony. They finally got together, so expect a sequel in 2029.
Wow,
so that'll be interesting, considering Sony pretty much punted it to Netflix for minimal money, and it blew up and became a massive hit. So yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting as well, because the story was, at least from what I had heard from the creators of it, it's just that it was one story, like start and finish. They didn't really intend to do any more. It's just that then the whole world wanted more, so they have to come up with something. We'll see.
Yeah.
There are a few things that they left open, but let's see what they come up with.
Honestly, it's still on my 2C list. It's on my pile of shame still. I haven't had a chance to catch it.
They're making an old-fashioned sequel, like we used to have before the dreaded F word took over. Wow, how about that?
Right.
Okay,
so the trivia night?
Yeah, we've mentioned it. We've mentioned the WA Screen Industry in the year celebration of night.
All right, cool. Because I did miss a couple of things there. I thought I'd put in here.
So sorry, man. I was just I added a couple late, and I was just powering through those. Okay, so let's look at the coming soons. So November 14th, In Your Dreams on Netflix. November 19th, The Mighty Nine. So those that remember Vox Machina, this is the new sequence, not from Vox Machina crew, but the one of the other Critical Role games. November 27th, Zootopia 2 is coming out. December 4th, Jujutsu Kaisen Execution is coming to cinemas. So that will be the first couple of episodes of season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen, combined together to make a movie. December 11th, we've got Pets on the Train, and December 18th, Avatar, Fire and Ash is coming to our screens.
I don't know how I'm feeling about that one, Fire and Ash. Like I did like Avatar because it was always eye candy, but
Avatar might be all CGI, but it's what was the term I heard recently? It's the most haptic of the CGI films that come out.
It feels the
That
most
is-
real.
That's it.
Yeah.
It feels like it's like you watch an old movie like Lawrence of Arabia and you get a real sense of being somewhere, like Camel's Desert, all that stuff. You go and watch an Avatar film. The film itself might be painfully primitive, but the visuals are absolutely 15 out of 10 every time. So I don't know. It's worth the spectacle at least once. And I watch it and I think, wow, that's amazing. And then I think, I never want to see this ever again.
Yeah, no, it will essentially be that. It's like, I do always like watching it, but I watch it once and that's it.
James
But
Cameron is
I'm
taking it.
disappointed though, because I know that despite it all, it's like you don't really go for the story unless you're a hardcore fan. But it's like I didn't want to see the trailers, and then I got stuck in a cinema where I got forced to watch a trailer. I didn't want to watch the trailer because I knew they're going to spoil the entire movie in the trailer, and they did. And I'm like, anyway, we'll move on.
It's fine art making trailers.
So let's look at what's screening locally then.
Local screening. I actually left one in here because I ran out of space. So the starts one is the Animatrix and Matrix.
Ah, okay, cool.
Revival House.
That's November 15th. Fine. Yeah, okay. So November 15th, Animatrix and Matrix Double. November 21st, The Corpse Bride at Revival House.
Oh yeah.
November 23rd, The Concierge. So that's part of the Japanese Film Festival. I believe that's screening at Palace.
Is that a new one or an old one? I don't.
It's a new one.
At all.
Yeah, it's a new anime. Well, 2024, 2025. So.
Okay.
November 24, Shrek plus Shrek 2, and that's at Luna. November 29th, Revival House again for robots. November 29th, Watership Down, which we're getting very close to talking about today. At Revival House. And December 15, Princess Mononoke and Laputa at Castle in the Sky.
Gee, that's a good double.
So yeah, I think we're missing a few there, huh?
No, unless
we've missed there's actually a festival coming out at Luna that we've missed. I'll post some details to that. I don't know if we've just missed it for our time or not. There's a couple of movies from a Japanese anime director coming through. So, all right, so we'll come back to that later. If I missed it, we'll pop it on socials. So, best adaptions. That's our topic for this month. So, look, since long ago, when evil queens sorted beauty tips from magic mirrors instead of YouTube, animation has been turning the dreams of the page into images on the screen. For a century, animation has been the way for many fantastical works to be adapted into a visual medium. Works that would often be impossible, or at least really expensive, to do otherwise. Dwarves have sung, animals have debated politics, rabbits have fled oppressive regimes, boy robots have flown, and many a princess has met their Prince Charming. So that's the topic for tonight. We're talking about adaptions. And in this first part, we're looking at the good versions. So stay tuned for next month, I think. So
it's the worst.
We'll be spoiled for choice next month.
So we're just looking at some of the favorites from page to screen and what makes them good today. So let's start with that as the very first topic. What does make a good adaptation? Lindsay.
Wow. Okay. My perspective is, given that animation's such a different medium, I mean, depends what you're coming from. If you're coming from comic books or manga to anime or animation, then I tend to find a lot of that stuff tends to be like an animated comic, which I have mixed feelings about. I don't think it should be too literal. Two different media after all, and storyboards are not comics, if you know what I mean. But generally, I think my perspective would be, I think one of the attitudes I kind of react to is when you hear some old coot like Harlan Ellison, hallowed be thy name, etc., etc. Talking about paying authors back in the day and saying, oh, the writer doesn't get enough credit for creating this genius bit of work. And you would have seen that in The Terminator when he was carrying on about the fact that he'd written a Twilight Zone episode that had a similar theme like 500 years earlier. What that attitude tends to forget is that film and animation are collaborative affairs, and there's usually 499 other people involved in the creative process. And some of the best adaptations aren't so much the literal ones as the sort of vibey ones, you know what I mean? So being literal about something is not a good way to kill it. And there's a bit of a tendency these days for a lot of fans to be quite reactionary about stuff, and they expect to see their personal expectations realized, and they expect to see all the right elements that they're familiar with and they can trot off their tribal totem pole, all expressed appropriately in their terms. So I tend to go for, my heart usually sinks if there's a literal translation. I usually prefer going for the vibes. That's how Watership Down nearly ended up being our subject for me tonight, followed closely by Coraline. And then I settled on, well, you'll find out soon enough. Yeah, so that's my position. I think you've got two different mediums, and I read a book for an entirely different set of reasons than I watch animation for, and movies for that matter. So I always like the idea I see a different take on the subject. And, so that's my thing. I don't like literal adaptation. So a literal adaptation for me, not a good move. So,
yeah, I'm of a similar opinion. I feel like you can be somewhat loose with your adaptation, but you got to have an understanding of, for me, it comes down to understanding of the core of the character and their motivations, and also some of the themes being explored in the storyline as well.
I mean, sometimes you get iconic adaptations. So, for example, Harry Potter would be a classic example where the cast of the Harry Potter films have effectively become the people you're imagining when you're reading the books. But that doesn't happen very often. Yeah. What about you, young Connor? Up there on the third floor?
Up on the third floor. Up in my ivory tower.
Sorry, second floor.
I mean, obviously, I don't have as much experience when it comes to actually going through all the adaptations of all sorts. But for me, I'm definitely like, surface level is like, yeah, I like it when it's all eye candy. If it matches like what the medium is in my head, oh yeah, no, that's perfect. But I think it's one of those things where it's pacing. I think pacing is very important because you have a lot of stuff with books, you have a lot of people going through dialogue in their head. And I think that is something where a lot of either animes or movies or whatever sometimes fall short, is they're trying to adapt, trying to get all that dialogue that's in their head into what you're seeing, except for that's how you end up getting a lot of these still frames of someone's head. They're not like talking, but you can hear a constant monologue. So stuff like that, can you work around not doing that the whole standard show, not tell? So stuff like pacing, stuff like, does it, like the vibe, like you said, like does it feel, for example, if we're going manga to animation, does watching it feel like, what was it? Does watching it feel like what you feel when you read a comic, or does it feel like a PowerPoint presentation?
One of the difficulties of that is that an author can spend years researching a subject, write it up in 30 pages, and then when it comes to the movie version, they set up a tripod on a hill and just go, and they've just summed up the entire thing in one hit because it's all in context and it all works. So yeah, that can be a problem. So yeah.
I think one thing that I didn't mention previously that probably should also mention is I feel there's a place for a love of the subject matter as well. I mean, and that can be a slippery slope because you can be too much in love with it and want to reenact bit by bit, and suddenly you end up with Tom Bombadillo in there, and no one needs that. But I think a knowledge and a love of the subject matter, so you know what you can change and you know how to be respectful of changing it without wrecking it as well. if you're starting the project without that sort of nature of respect and love for the subject matter, you're just getting iRobot. You're just slamming a title onto something and hoping it gets money through its recognition that way.
That's for sure. Having said that, the Lord of the Rings movies were vastly improved with the presence of Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
Did I say that? Oh, I'm sorry. Being controversial again.
All right, let's get into it.
So I'll go with my pick, and this one's a bit of a basic one. So I'm picking.
I did forget to do my obligation.
All right.
The poster that you see here was done by Darcy Walker. His Instagram is on screen as well that you can see. He managed to knock this one up in, I think, a day and a half or something. I actually don't know how long it took. I think he probably accumulated a couple hours out of it. But yeah, it's something that it's like go give him a follow for his other style. Like, it's his style. He's got a good style, but that's some of the stuff that he likes, I believe. So definitely Chainsaw Man at least. Anyway, sorry, I forgot to do the obligation. And also, if you want to ever get random promotion, like have us post all about your favorite, whatever we call it, if you want to have your artwork up here as the poster, and then we just put it on all our socials, just send it in. Just next week we're going on about the worst adaptations. Next week, next month. Next month we're going about the worst adaptations. So I don't know, put some One Punch Man season 3 art in there or something like that.
Just drag it around.
Yep, a Berserk even. I know that one was also abysmal. So yeah, no, there we go. Cool. Now
if we were talking about live action, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep would definitely be there as a loose adaptation for me.
Look what I did for that one.
Yeah. All right, so
do we have any DC Comics fans in this room, or not we?
Yeah, I'm going very basic for my pick. Like Batman the Animated Series, so that's The Adventures of Batman. Also, season 2 it became Adventures of Batman and Robin, and I'm including the new Adventures of Batman, new Batman Adventures in that as well, because that's often tagged along as the final season of that, even though it's technically a separate show. And it does follow on from continuity. It just gets a bit of an artistic and stylistic update. All right, so why is it worthy of note? Well, it's the show that launched the DCAU. It's responsible for, I think it's 6 different series coming out eventually, and a slew of movies, 3 of which from Batman animated series alone, and a couple associated with that. It's also launched Kevin Conroy and Hamill into the roles of Batman and the Joker, which they've become iconic in, and through their work in the DCAU, and later on led to the Arkham Asylum series of games, or the Arkham series of games. And that voice work is just it's yet to be beaten, the characters, I think. Say again?
It makes it.
It does indeed.
Well, Mark Hamill as the Joker, it makes it. Really, seriously.
Yeah. And so along with Burton, the Tim Burton film, it helped popularize the darker Batman in the zeitgeist. I think we're kind of having to flash back a little bit here to explain that one. Back in the 89 for the original Batman?
Well, the original series came out in the late 60s, but you're talking about The Dark Knight Returns.
The Burton film of Batman.
Yeah, that's 89.
Yeah. Thank you.
That'll be the bottom left.
Okay, so basically at that time, Batman had been around for approximately 50 years and built up, gone through both the Golden Age, Silver Age, and into the Bronze Age. The character had been redeveloped in comics through works of like Frank Miller and had definitely got a darker edge to it than most of the public. But the public was still seeing the 1960s 66 Batman series, which had been on pretty constant repeat, and Adam West and Bruce Ward's portrayal of the characters was what was probably most associated with the character beyond the comic book reading public. So when when the Burton film came out, there was a bit of a shock about the tonal change in it, and there was a bit of a backlash from some of the media and mums about how dark it was in comparison to the bright, sort of fluffy appearance that they had back in the day, which was more based on the Silver Age. So this coming into it, the team knew that they could have had a task ahead of them, because they had to redefine what Batman was seen like, more in line with the Burton and the later original comics and the Bronze Age comics.
Well, the original from the 30s and 40s, really.
Yeah. So the Golden Age. Before the Comic Code Authority triggered a very distinct change, moving more towards comedy, sci-fi, and wilder and wackier sort of events in the Silver Age. Yeah. We've discussed this previously, so I can't point to a YouTube video, but we'll find it and tell you what episode that was of ours before. So they actually went back looking at that sort of milieu. So what makes it a great adaptation is it drew on comics from the Golden, Bronze, and Modern Age to tell their tale. Skipping the Silver Age predominantly, the adaptations varied. Some of them were very close to the comics, others were much more loose and just basically inspired by it. This actually series managed to feed back into the Batman lore and Batman comics. Most famously, it created Harley Quinn and Montoya, and then sent them back into comics where they've changed and mutated and became Harley Quinn definitely has become a star in her own right. So it draws on the character and threads and the art styles and the feel of the show. Look, by that I'm referring to, it creates its own style called Dark Deco, which is kind of a combination of film noir and German expressionism to create the look and feel of Gotham. The backgrounds themselves, I believe, were actually using for the sets were drawn on dark pages, drawn dark background using bright colors for it, and giving a large sort of expressionistic feel to the design. So you've got massive uses of sets there, looking large spaces where characters are often drowned in the volume of it. Lots of chiaroscuro shadows perpetuating almost every sequence, and a very 1940s feel to the technology around at the time. So TV broadcasts will be often black and white. Radios will be playing important news events, and just a lush sort of nod back to that sort of original setting for Batman, and that more criminal basis and film noir basis for it. There's even direct references from films from the 30s and 40s throughout of it. Ironically, it's also kind of how they got past of a lot of the censorship on TV as well, using suggestions of violence that the initial filmmakers from noir would use to try and bypass the Hays Code. This time they were using it to bypass parent associations and nervous executives. So they could show a gun being shot. Obviously, you weren't showing someone actually being shot. You could show Batman in shadows, vast shadows beating up crooks, but you're less likely to see a blow connecting to a jaw, etc., etc. So that was pretty smart on their part. For me, it's the understanding of character that makes it. Conroy's Batman might be racked by guilt and seeking vengeance, but he's also a character that generally is hoping for reform in his foes. You often see him following up with the villains afterwards, after they've been released or trying part of reform. Often it doesn't go well, but the sentiment is certainly there. He takes the best of the 66 version and brings it forward to a darker take that was reborn in the Bronze Age. Look, for the example, I'm going to look at an episode called Legends of Dark Knight. So that's New Batman Adventures, Season 2, Episode 6. The synopsis of this one was several children giving their various opinions of who they think the Batman is. So they're basically telling a tale as an arsonist goes through Gotham City of their encounters with Batman. And it's an unintended homage to Batman 250, but it's got a lot of different homages throughout the episode. It allows for a variety of interpretations, many nodding to other eras and mediums. The second story is drawn in the style of God-Known artist Dick Sprang, and it actually contains a callback to the Batman 66 opening sequence where Batman and Robin shake hands. It's actually achieved pretty much note perfectly in that after telling a ridiculous tale of the Joker trying to capture trying to steal instruments from the Gotham Giant Instrument Museum and setting up a death trap with giant instruments. So it's a perfect piece of Golden Age verging on Silver Age story, and it's just a ridiculous take to see it a more realistic take on Batman. But the main highlight for this, the main talking point, is a straight 10-minute adaptation of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. So anyone that knows the comic, it's the junkyard fight sequence where he takes out the mutant leader with the bat tank, and it's just beautifully shot, very evocative of the comic, recreates it almost perfectly, and it has Michael Ironside doing the voice of Batman for that one sequence. And it's just gorgeous. Now, of course, at the end of the episode, all this comes together where the group actually encounter Batman fighting, I think it's Firefly, the arsonist, at this stage. And they actually see what, we as the audience are familiar with the Batman as, but also see aspects of all they've seen in the story, all they've heard of in the stories. Sense of humor that he makes a dry quip at one stage is perfect. The toughness of Batman representing the Dark Knight sort of illusion, and I think there's also a reference to some of the weirder Elseworlds like Blood Rain, where one of the kids tells a very short story of Batman as an inhuman creature, and you're just seeing him flying down like a bat from the night. Nice. That. So yeah, it's a nice little adaptation, although it's drawing on various forms. It's a good example of what makes a series as a whole a brilliant standout series, and a great adaptation of Batman while being able to be its own thing entirely. So that was my pick.
It's a good one. I've heard lots about the series. I've channel hopped it over the years, but I've never sat through it from beginning to end.
Never a big DC fan in general to get into Batman.
What?
I normally make more Marvel than DC.
I'm just a Marvel fan.
There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was just one of those series that landed later in life for me, and I've really loved it.
I know it certainly stirred up a lot of things when it first appeared. Definitely was a thing.
Yeah, and I guess also going forward, it helped with a Western version of adult animation as well, and that you could actually tell a solid story and deal with complex themes for kids. All right, go for it.
All right. Mine, which I realized I'm about to make myself semi-unpopular, no, not because of the choice. Chainsaw Man, I am currently obsessed with. I did binge. I probably spent more time consuming Chainsaw Man than actually writing down enough notes, or writing down any notes really about my opinions between the manga and the anime. I did somehow manage to binge watch the entirety of season 1 in a day, so, well, in an evening.
Nice.
Crikey.
Yeah. I did remember there was the Himeno arc, at least. Yeah, that for a few episodes it's a bit questionable, since it's essentially what was it? A drunk adult making a minor drunk and then trying to have sex with them, but then nothing happened. But then it's just the whole concept, like the whole concept of the entire part of that story is very like, thin lines. It is a mapper anime, so it's always going to be, well, at least in my experience, it has a lot of mapper stuff has been really good, even though it does drip with animated blood. We know that that's the cost to make these things. And yeah, no, and I didn't think to include, the other one that I didn't think to include was either Attack on Titan, because I'd never watched or read Attack on Titan. So that's a second strike for me to get put on a stake. And then the third one being, I should have put Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse into this as well.
Ooh.
That would, but what is it adapting from? Is it adapting from the movies? Is it adapting from the comics? I've never read any of the comics. I didn't even watch any of the latest Spider-Man movies besides the Spider-Verse ones. So, but yeah, I should have included the Spider-Verse movies. It's just that I can't compare because I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Some executive summary of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I chose Chainsaw Man just because, well, besides its eye candy, it's just the amount of work that went into it. There are sections which I really appreciate, which we did talk about, not trying to have it be one-to-one, but there are sections throughout the anime that I'm specifically talking about the Reze arc, because that was the one where I actually read the whole manga of that and then actually watched the movie, and that was actually a lot easier to compare than to the show. It's essentially Denji is, I think he's just getting used to his new life, and then he suddenly starts meeting a girl, and then he's really into her. Then you find out that she's actually there to try and either take him to her side or kill him, as per any Chainsaw Man story goes. It's really good. I don't want to spoil it. It's, if you've read the manga and then you're in the theater watching it, you know what's going to happen, and it's definitely pulls at the heartstrings. But yeah, like I said, it was really good because you can press pause and then you're like, oh, I remember that panel from the manga. And then that's where I was saying, it feels like you're reading a comic. It's that sort of, not like the, even though it's like, it's all animated and it's all moving and there's a lot of movement and flow, and it's the vibe is that, oh, it's like an action comic. And that's why I really liked it. So I don't have much to, I didn't get around to writing as much on it as I wanted to, but yeah, in my opinion, it definitely captures what Chainsaw Man is, at least the entire story, like all of it. It all feels sort of like this. It's got a lot of quiet time, and then it builds up, and then it explodes out of proportion, and yeah, it's a roller coaster. So yeah.
Nice.
You guys haven't watched it yet? Are you still?
Can't say that I have.
I kind of bounced off the first couple of episodes of Chainsaw Man, not because the animation's fantastic. It was kind of the sexual politics of it made me cringe a bit at times. So I was watching it with my wife as well, which that did not go down well. So it's like, yeah, we're done with this, aren't we?
First few episodes. You only watched the first few episodes. It gets worse. It gets way worse.
Good. So I don't think I'm going to dip back into that. So sorry.
It's very much a young. I think it's definitely more of a Connor generation sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I I get the appeal, but yeah, just
the target. We know which one out of the three of us is the target audience.
Yeah, fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. All right. Well, I had several picks this month. I started off with Watership Down. I'm thinking, oh no, not another 70s film. So I didn't want to do that. But that was a very good, I read the novel. I thought, wow, this is quite different. Very different at the time. Known, talking animals that are living their own life was quite unusual. And then the film, like, oh, there it is. They managed to nail it. And then the next film was like, well, the next film was one of my favorite animated films, which was Coraline, which sort of summed up the whole Neil Gaiman story vibe really well. And then I thought, no, it's a little controversial these days. And then I realized, well, there is a third one. I didn't really think of it, but it's Ghost in the Shell from 1995. And if you could imagine that as being like a 6-year late follow through from Akira, it was, it sort of locked and cemented in a lot of adult fans of anime. It was quite different. It was very mature. That was the first thing about it. Some people have called it peak anime. It's all been downhill since then. That's really opinion, to be honest. It's essentially the peak for cyberpunk. So this is like in the days when cyberpunk was talking about implants and stuff like that, before the whole concept of the mobile phone rendered all of that completely obsolete. And it was the main source of inspiration for the Matrix movies, among other things. Although, the Matrix collates a whole pile of other pop culture references together as well. So I'd say outside of Blade Runner and Akira, it would be the other major cyberpunk influence, especially in the 90s. I mean, you got things like Cowboy Bebop and stuff like that that are riffing off that as well. And one thing that characterizes these films is this incredible sense of world building and industrial design. That's really quite amazing. So Ghost in the Shell is notable, like all cyberpunk. It's set in a place called Newport City in Japan. Although when you look at the backgrounds and stuff, it really feels like a pre-China handover Hong Kong projected into the future. Lots of really dense low-income accommodation interspersed with these vast kind of high-tech towers. And there's like canals and all kinds of spaces around there.
I think that Hong Kong was part of his inspiration for their design.
Quite definitely. They've got half the buildings are in bamboo scaffolding. This classic late 90s or late 20th century construction. And so basically it's like most cyberpunk, everything is so pickled in information and cybernetics that it almost feels like, everyone's drowning in it. To the point where there are synthetic cyborgs walking around, robot bodies that have human brains in them, and even your regular average citizen has implants in their head. And one of the biggest problems for people isn't so much dealing with spammers or anything like that. It's like literally having your head hacked by some villain who basically erases your memory and then turns you into essentially a puppet and gets you to commit crimes for their shady, nefarious schemes. So that sort of aspect of it, in an age of misinformation and an internet going rapidly sour, sort of made it like, reviewing it again, I was like, oh man, this is more relevant than ever in a funny kind of way. So anyway, my thing I like about it is that I basically got into the whole Ghost in the Shell thing through this film to begin with. And what impressed me about the movie was that it was grown up. It was mature, but not adult, if you know what I mean. It wasn't juvenile.
It wasn't for young adult audiences.
Correct, right. So it's the most, and in hindsight, I would say it was easily the most mature of the Ghost in the Shell films and media out there. So the major character is Major Kusanagi, or Major K. And she's basically a robot person with a human brain implanted in there. So most of this film, first half of this film, she's contemplating her existence and wonders where her humanity has gone to a large degree. Although most of the time in Ghost of the Shell, she's basically presented as some kind of semi-nude teenage fembot with inflated proportions. And but what I remember from the '95 version is a baleful silver stare with these kind of almost emotionless eyes from this artificial person that's like staring through you. And that's what really stands out to me. And all her proportions are like a mature adult. There's no, stylized Chiblis or anything like that. And what's great about it is all the other characters are given the same sort of treatment as well. So what makes it a great adaptation? To be honest, I don't feel anything's come close. Not even there was a 2017 live action film, the Scarlett Johansson.
How about standalone complex series? That was
probably the second best one. So yeah. I mean, I remember watching the live action version, and it had some absolutely mind-bending visuals in a completely unremarkable and utterly forgettable film.
Yeah.
I think if you want to see the sort of impact it has, is like think AI generated stuff. It's like a complete waste of Weta's work, I think. And they anglicized most of the characters for some strange reason, which I just do not get. And of course, a lot of unnecessary upset, etc., etc. So the original manga was probably the first thing I got into when I watched that film. And so it had some pretty wild concepts in it. So first of all, we have Section 9. So Section 9 is an elite government counter-espionage unit. And it deals with high-level cybersecurity criminals and almost like enemy countries. It's almost like ASIA or the Signals Directorate, except half the people in it are robots with human brains implanted in them. So it's got some amazing stuff in there. And it's got people getting hacked minds, cybersecurity, AIs, future tech, all that stuff. But the comic, or the manga, Shirao, when he's not doing all this sort of stuff, gets completely sidetracked by chicky babes and G-strings and gun porn and being a little too clever for his own good, I felt. So I really felt reading the original manga felt like a bit of a step backwards for the whole thing. I really appreciated the sort of hardcore sci-fi part of it, but it's like, oh God, the fan service just drove me around the bend. But there's a lot of gold. Yeah, there's a whole pile of the Dirty Pair. There's a whole ton of them.
But Appleseed's directly by the same author.
Oh, right. Okay, well, that makes sense. Oh, yes, it is too, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, the ghosts of the film are the personalities themselves. That is, whether it's a piece of software or an AI or a recording of a human brain implanted into a contraption, that's a ghost. And so a ghost in the shell is describing the spirit in the machine, so to speak. And in the film, it's increasingly difficult to separate the regular humans from these artificial beings or these semi-artificial beings. And that's what makes it so interesting. What you've got is this amazing blend of visuals, and it truly is splendiferous. It's both quietly contemplative, meditative, and then full-on action. And at the same time, they've got mind-stonkering levels of world building going on here. I've never seen anything like it outside of Akira. Most anime will have static shots of crowds, like just a still, nothing moving, and then they'll have, at 120 frames a minute, all this ninja action and stuff. But Ghost in the Shell animates everybody in the crowd, and there's hundreds of them, it seems, while a lot of the main action will take place between invisible people wearing invisibility cloaks, fighting it out in ankle-deep water. It's just bananas. All right, so that was the thing that really stood out to me. And so you've got all the time in the world to soak all this stuff in, and the minimalism of some of it and the maximalism of the other stuff of it just seems to fit together really well. And it made it feel quite haptic, as I mentioned earlier. It made it feel like an actual credible place. There's the sort of ordinariness of the everyday life, like the markets with people with baskets and produce and stuff like that. And then there's this mad, crazy, over-the-top cyber stuff. It's like watching James Cameron make an Aliens film, but instead of staging it on some kind of groovy planet, he stages it at the Wanneroo markets or something. But he gives it the whole Avatar treatment, even though it's the Wanneroo markets. And that's what Ghost in the Shell does. So it feels very convincing and very grounded and very full-on all at once. So, yeah. The second half, not so great. There's a lot of static images and lots of talking and exposition with lots and lots of dialogue, and some broken robot with a human brain inside that doesn't move, speaks for like 3 minutes on something, which can be a bit frustrating, especially after that great opening. But still, it's well worth it. It's very, very cool. Yeah, it's yeah. I think one of the standout moments is a bunch of garbos delivering the rubbish, but unbeknownst to these poor guys, one of them's been brain hacked, and this poor guy is honestly convinced he's got a wife and family waiting for him at home, and he's going from one telephone to another, one private public telephone to another, committing cybercrime because he's doing something for a friend. And then it turns out he's been pursued by Major K and her cronies and their kind of tricked out stuff. And they find there's a criminal who's basically directing this guy. And then we find out later that this guy also has been brain hacked as well. And there's two regular humans whose lives have been utterly destroyed by something that just needed to make a fast buck on some fraud somewhere. And there's this guy being interviewed by the cops who can't even remember his own name anymore. And they show him all the evidence of his life, which he's like lives alone in a grotty little flat somewhere. All his imagined family and stuff just doesn't exist because some scumbag just basically bought it off the street and just plugged him into it and then drove him around like a puppet for a few minutes just to get a fast buck. So that's the thing that made that one really scary. I have to admit, though, there's Section 9's run by an old dude called Aramaki. He's your classic wild hair anime guy. He kept reminding me of The Professionals and Gordon Jackson.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, yeah. Where have I seen this before? It's been bugging me for years. And I finally clicked. Gordon Jackson.
Sounds Scottish accent.
So for anyone born after the 20th century, this means nothing at all. So Gordon Jackson, you'll probably recognize the face. He was a butler in Upstairs, Downstairs or something, some boring British BBC drama that went on droned on for 10 years or something. And then he goes up and plays this hard as nails violent police chief. It was kind of weird.
Upstairs, anyway. Downstairs, for those not born in...
don't worry, you're not missing anything.
Basically,
you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kept reminding me of The Professionals, except The Professionals is a bunch of yobs, really, and this wasn't. So yeah, they had a whole pile of things. They had the TV series, which was called Standalone Complex, I think. Yeah, that was pretty faithful to the manga. In fact, arguably that's more faithful to the manga than Ghost in the Shell.
I've got a soft spot for Standalone Complex.
Yeah, I think so. It introduced the Laughing Man, and that guy became an internet meme for a while until V for Vendetta knocked him off his perch 3 years later. And then it was just Guy Fawkes masks from decades on, basically. So Standalone Complex is pretty good. It's fairly dry, I thought, except for a few standout moments, but it's not bad. If you want to follow this up, that's not a bad way to go. There was Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence, I think it was, back in 2004. And that was like a sequel. So I don't want to give away the first Ghost in the Shell, but basically it follows on Major K's sidekick, Batu, who's a guy with funny goggle eyes implanted in his head. And which is actually about rogue sex bots being hacked with ghosts and attacking people. So Shirao gets his girly girls, and it's all about blowing things up. So not as profound as the first film, but it's pretty solid. And yeah, it plays up the whole human doll thing, and it kept reminding me of Blade Runner's replicant little people puppet motifs they kept using. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out as well. So, oh gosh, we could keep going, but that's yeah. I mean, the thing I found annoying about the whole Standalone Complex thing, or Gitsack, if you want to follow Gitsack, which I think is quite appropriate, considering that it does the usual late 90s, early noughties extreme comics thing of lingerie plus leather jacket routine with a sex doll for Major K, which is like, guys.
I actually thought it was... I thought it was less than the original movie. Got to see it again now.
Yeah, I mean, the original movie has those moments as well, but But anyway, and we get those cute little Ghibli robots as well. So in the TV series, which really, really contribute to the kind of mature tone that is. It's like Tom Bombadil being dropped from Lord of the Rings. the 95 movie did the right thing, I think.
I think there is a degree of payoff. They're there for cheap and cuteness, but they also do state something about evolving AI intelligence as the series goes along. And they're used
growing,
for they're used for some else later on.
So it's a pretty solid thing all up. So I started with the 95 film. You could then follow up with the TV series, Git, Sack, and then follow up with Innocence, or just do the 2 films first and then do the TV series.
I think there's another 2 TV series out there are probably not worth approaching.
There's other series out there? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, there's been a couple released recently in this last 5 years or so.
They came, they went, and no papers were ruffled.
They're on Netflix, so I'm sorry I can't tell
recommendation is don't watch the Scarlett Johansson live action one as the first exposure.
Unless you're into visual effects, maybe. Yeah.
Just go for the movie first, and I think you'll be satisfied.
No, I didn't even think to even watch that one again.
All I remember from that one is that I watched it, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Never watched it again, and then didn't even realize that it was actually an adaptation. I thought that was Ghost in the Shell. That was it, and I was like, interesting concept.
Is the correct answer?
Interesting concept. I'm not a big fan of this, really, but it's just like, oh, I didn't realize there's a
95 version.
This was before I got into
nothing
animation.
See the 95 movie. It's quite something. If you can see it on a big screen, even better. It's the whole meditative
and
being
it's
alone.
quite possible. That's often a revival or Luna, so take a look out next year.
Keep an eye out.
It'll be coming sometime.
If they do a double, definitely worth dropping everything and checking out.
So should we wrap it up? And we've kind of come to a bit of a wishy-washy conclusion that adaptions are about vibes and not got any solid way of. Yes. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. It's exactly that.
I'm sure there's a case for a literal translation or literal adaptation of something that just works perfectly. I just can't think of too many off the top of my head.
I don't think there is one hard and fast sort of set of rules that you could do. Otherwise,
of course not.
Films would be great, animations would be great, and there wouldn't be what we're talking about next month.
We're gonna have no trouble in finding content for.
Here's a whole pile of animated movies we don't recommend you go and watch next week.
I haven't thought of it yet. But see how we go. That's. But I guess that is kind of it. We've covered the topic. It's come down to vibes and characters and pacing, understanding stories and themes. Other than that, you don't need to be slavish. You can be loose as long as you're respectful to adaptation. I think you're probably going to be hopefully okay.
That and also taste is taste. If you like the taste, if you like something, well, perhaps you like it. I will definitely say though, I think the world is telling me that is punishing me and telling me that I really should have added into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man, because I think spider eggs had hatched outside my window, and I'd been wondering why I'd been finding lots of little spiders around me all evening. And I just realized it's just out the window, and she was like pointing at it. I'm like,
there you go. Life
the universe was trying to tell you something, and you just ignored it. You didn't pick up the call, Connor.
I didn't pick up the call. House of Bad Spiders. That's gonna be us for the night, I think.
That's us for the night. So let's say goodbye from me.
Yeah. See you around, Dave.
Bye-bye.
See you around, Connor.
Oh, no.
Bye-bye.
See you around, everybody. See you next month.
All right. Catch you next month.
Bye.